Okay. So write down explanation number 6. Explanation number 6. Okay. In explanation number 6, you mark the line. Mark the line from here. No, the root is to be pulled out of the anchoring earth. It is to be roped, tied and pulled out, snapped out or pulled out entirely. Pulled out entirely out from the earth's cave. This entire section. Just mark it. Okay. Now you write. Okay, so I'm repeating the marking portion. No, the root is to be pulled out from here till the earth cave, you mark. Okay. So write down. The poet is trying to explain. The poet is trying to explain the poet is trying to explain the real method to kill a tree. The poet is trying to explain the real method of killing a tree. Full stop. One has to uproot. One has to uproot the entire root system. One has to uproot the entire root system of the tree from the depth of depths depths of the soil, from the depths of the soil. Full stop. For this difficult work, one can either tie up the plant, one can either tie up the tree, not plant, tie up the tree to pull. One can either tie up the tree to pull, or the roots can be cut into pieces, after pull you have to write, or the roots can be cut into pieces and then pulled out completely. roots, because there will be different branches of the roots, different big network of the roots, many roots will be there, so therefore roots. Okay, full stop. Now next, explanation number 7. Mark the line, and the strength of the tree exposed, the source white and wet, the most sensitive hidden for years inside the earth. This portion you mark and write down. The real strength of the tree, the real strength of the tree is inside its roots, is inside its roots, as a white, wet and most sensitive, as a white, wet and most sensitive substance, comma, which had been hidden and protected, inside the earth for years, inside the earth for years. Full stop. In order to kill a tree, that substance, in order to kill a tree, that substance has to be exposed, to the environment, has to be exposed to the environment. Okay. Next, explanation number 8. Okay, explanation number 8, you see the entire last stanza. Then the matter of scorching and choking in the sun and air, browning, hardening, twisting, withering, and then it is done. The poet gives a pitiful description of the slow process of a painful death. Yes, pitiful. Okay, slow process of a painful death full stop. As the roots lie exposed, as the roots lie exposed to the sun and air, comma, it lose its vitality by the scorching heat and the choking dust choking dust, dust. Okay, full stop. Very soon those roots get dried up and finally, after a time, they break apart. Finally, after a time, they break apart, comma, killing the tree at last. Killing the tree at last. Killing the tree at last. After apart, give a comma and then write killing the tree at last. Okay. Yes, but not yet completed because I will be giving the poetic devices now. Okay, I hope you haven't forgot it. After every poem you need to know the poetic devices. So now you will find out, I'm giving the clue, you find out the alliterations used in the poem, because alliterations will be there in almost every poems whatever I have taught. Alliteration means two words in a sentence starting with the same consonant sound. Two words in a sentence starting with the same consonant sound. Okay, now you tell me. You try to find out the example from the poem so that I understand that you have understood what is alliteration. No, I haven't changed my background. then it must be the work of some of you sitting with the computer. It's not my activity. Okay, what I'm asking you, answer that. So one example of alliteration I'm giving you from the book, that is bleeding bark. In the second stanza you see bleeding bark. The bleeding bark will heal. So bleeding bark, yes, yes. Bleeding bark is the first alliteration that I have seen. There will be more, you see. Another one, I think, somewhere here. White and wet. Yes, white and wet. The source white and wet. W for white, W for wet. Yes. Okay. Okay. The next will be, okay, the next poetic device. The next poetic device that you can see here, that is repetition is there. Now you tell me repetition. Okay, and the strength of the tree exposed, this is not an alliteration. Okay, okay, you tell me the example of repetition. Repetition is also there. One word which has been used more than once. One word which has been repeatedly used. Tree. Tree is not repeated. You see the word pulled, P-U-L-L-E-D, pulled, yes. Pulled has been repeated in the third stanza. Pulled, 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 many times pulled. Okay, that has been repeated. And okay, I think this is the only word repeated here. Okay, next poetic device. Next poetic device, out. Yeah, out also repeated. Yeah, pulled out of the anchoring earth. Yes, out, again pulled out, snapped out. Fine. So out and pull, these two are repeated. Okay, these are the examples of repetition. Next, I'm telling you metaphor. Metaphor, give example of metaphor. Yes, bleeding bark. Now, how this bleeding bark is a metaphor here? How the bleeding bark is a metaphor here. So bleeding bark is actually, the tree is not bleeding. Okay, that the juice that is coming out from the tree, it is just like if anyone is injured, as blood comes out of the body, in the same way the juice is coming out from the body. So that is what here it means by metaphor. Okay. Achha, I am watching the screen. Someone has changed the background into something like very bad. Some grassy, stony things are happening, and I'm sitting in the middle of it. Something like that. It's looking horrible. You just change it, because this is not my original video. My original video is in the corner. So whoever is doing that, I can't see the face, I can't see the name. So you just change it back. Okay. So bleeding bark, this is the example of a metaphor. Another one. Another one is that, where is that word? In the first stanza you see, and out of its leprous hide, and out of his leprous hide sprouting leaves. So leprous hide, this is another example of metaphor. Leprous hide means discolored bark. Discolored bark. You see the meaning beside the poem. Discolored bark means the bark whose color has been completely washed out. Okay, so that one. Not anchoring earth right now. Discolored bark means when a person looks discolored, means the person is compared to be sick. So here the tree which is suffering so much because of that injuries and all, so that tree is actually compared to a sick person. Okay, so that indirect comparison to a sick person is made here with this word, leprous hide. Okay. 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 Next repetition I have given. Okay, another one you can write, that is enjambment. Okay, enjambment you can give. So enjambment is a lot of thing, because you see the sentences are quite long. One sentence is taking more than 2-3 lines. Okay, so it is continuing to a lot of lines, then it is becoming an end. So another poetic device is enjambment. ENJAMBMENT. Okay. Okay, so I have told someone to change this background, whoever is doing that. If you're not, then I need to report it back. Okay, and if I report it back, obviously it will come to know. I have told you to change this background.